this episode, we get tipped off about a secret scallop bed. Although when I dive down into the depths to find them, nothing could prepare me for what I witnessed when I was down there. We also set sail for another treasure of an anchorage that we once again have all to ourselves, which we will of course upload to our anchorages page for you all too. And we discover something very unexpected about this new electric outboard. Currently, we find ourselves at anchor in the beautiful West Country on a glorious summer's day, trying to put as much juice in Kadoa's battery bank as we can before we set sail once again en route for another stunning bay, which we can't wait to explore and fully immerse ourselves into the environment to take it all in before we upload it for you. But before we set off, there's something we're going to find out with you all together in real time. Now, many of you who've been here with us a while will know that I have a very real love-hate relationship with outboard engines. In fact, we have had 4 so far in what is our 5th year of sailing, which is totally insane. And I'm shortly about to unveil our 5th. Now before I do, it's fair to say that I tried my best to learn how to look after an old outboard. I really did. Thankfully, I've had more luck learning to take care of Kadoa's main engine, and she in turn has taken very good care of us. But that just hasn't been the case with our outboards. And despite making every attempt to learn how to fix and maintain these little engines, I just never managed to become the mechanic I hoped I would be.
Oh Christ. Oh. Wow, that's like mace.
Things all changed when a kind soul who happens to watch the channel lent us his electric outboard, the Torqeedo 1003. Now, was this electric engine as powerful as our petrol outboards? No. Does it go anywhere near as fast? No. But, and this ended up being a very big but for us, it just worked. It never failed to start. It never cut out. It never had a block carb or a temperamental day. It always simply worked. We started to figure out that with a little careful planning and using the tide to our advantage, that we could actually still explore quite far from Kadoa, up some of the most beautiful waterways in the country, and we could do all of this in relative quiet too. Or so we thought. You see, this electric outboard was so much quieter than our old petrol outboards that the tranquility was a real novelty to us. But then many of you started commenting on the videos about how noisy this engine was. Then we met up with some friends of ours who had a newer electric engine, and it was much quieter than ours. Then, after recently completing our most epic range test on a battery yet, where we went from Poole Harbour up to Wareham and back on a single battery, well, after that we had someone from Torqeedo actually reach out to us and say,
"Did you know the new Torqeedo has been completely re-engineered and is now virtually silent?"
Last week we actually headed into Golden Arrow in Southampton, where a new Torqeedo 1103 was waiting for us to use for this sound test. And the reason we collected it from there was because we caught the train back from where we were anchored to head to my brother's 40th birthday, passing right by Golden Arrow in the process.
I don't think we've ever once gone away and come back with less stuff.
We're going to find out once and for all if there is a real noticeable difference between the 1003 and the 1103's engine's noise.
Right, so to keep this test fair, I'm going to talk through the power we're using whilst the engine's running. That means there's no way I can turn any volumes up or down on either of the engines because my voice will be relative to the engine. So we're going to start off here with the Torqeedo 1003, and so that is the engine running on quarter power. You can subtly hear it in the background. All right, that's the 1003 running on about 50% power. We're now running on 75% power. And that is the Torqeedo 1003 running on full power. I always found it really inoffensive, if I'm honest, but some of you didn't feel the same. All right, let's go check the other one out. Certainly feels heavier than the old one. 1103 is engaged. Let's get ready to rock and roll. That is 1/4 power. What? There's nothing. All I can put is like the slightest hum. I can pretty much just hear the wake of the water. Hold on, let's jack the power up. Let's go 50%. Right, that's 50% power, 500 watts. It's so faint. Alright. That's 750 watts. And that's full power. 1162 watts. The other one only goes up to just under 1,000 watts. Other than some mild vibration, which I think is just the transom, the engine itself is so much quieter. So back to 3/4. I think when you get to 3/4 power, it's still pretty much silent. That's crazy. Right, let me move forward. Alright, 900 watts. This is 900 watts. So this is pretty much almost full power on the Torqeedo 1003. That's a big difference. Okay, alright, I'm convinced. There you go. If you don't mind the noise, pick yourself up a second-hand Torqeedo 1003. If you want it to be silent and a bit more powerful, by the feel of it, then the 1103 is the one to go for. Happy days. Alright, that feels like a celebration is in the mix for me, and there's only one thing for it. Only one thing for it. Let's get in the water.
Next up, 3 of us got into the water in search of those elusive scallops. Although the water was murky and the depth would be right at the edge of my comfort zone, these are not the kind of conditions that I like to be in the water in, and I could feel that old anxiety coming back, the hangover from growing up watching Jaws movies. And as my imagination periodically ran away with itself, I certainly wasn't ready for this. An army of giant crabs, many bigger than I'd ever seen in my entire life, all sat right on top of the scallops. You could barely see the ground beneath them, they were packed in so tightly, so much so that I was about to call it quits. And then I found my first scallop. Of course, sat right next to the biggest of all the giant spider crabs. Eventually, I swam past the densest concentration of crabs, where the water even began to clear up slightly. And we were rewarded with plenty of scallops, where I even saw this micro-sized scallop, which was way too small to keep, so we let it go. We collected our quota for the day, after which I decided to take a delicious spider crab back too. Only when we got it back to the boat, I could feel its shell was fairly soft.
That is huge. We're going to put him back though, because he's a bit soft. We've just realised I've got him up, and sadly he's a bit soft, so off you go, mate.
I headed back down to fetch a different spider crab, but this time I thought I'd give their claws a squeeze whilst I was actually down there, rather than bring them up to the surface unnecessarily. But it turned out that every crab that I touched was in fact soft, which probably explains why they're all sticking together, to protect each other in their vulnerable state. So we decided to call time where we were and headed into shallower, clearer water to search out a different crustacean. And it doesn't take long to spot an orange lobster antennae poking out from under a rock. So it's a light tap on the tip of his tail to get him out, then I simply use the tickle stick to block the entrance back in, and dinner is served. Back aboard Cador, we pooled our resources with the new friends we'd made in the anchorage and shared out all of our spoils from the day.
Hi, these scallops look like they're bathing in something delicious.
We got soy sauce, honey, and garlic, and then it will go in with some melted butter also. Oh, and a bit of lemon juice.
Carly worked her culinary magic one more time and cooked up a seafood feast for us all.
Oh wow. Successful day.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done, guys.
Awesome.
And after another beautiful day of liveaboard life, it was time to up anchor in search of yet another new home.
Ah, that's better. Sun's coming out, the engine's off. Just the sounds of the natural world as we head to our next anchorage, which we will of course upload for all of you guys on Cadoa.com in our anchorage section. If any of you watching this haven't checked it out, then there's a link in the description. It's actually this website here. We're getting loads and loads of new anchorages, new for us anyway, and I'm sure new for some of you. Hopefully that comes in of some use. A few people already have said they've checked in to some of the places that we stopped in and loved it, which always feels good.
And after a short sail further west, we find ourselves in another idyllic anchorage, although this one did turn out to be a little bit rolly. So we'll show you one of the systems we rig up aboard Cadoa to point our bow into the swell for a comfortable night's sleep. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to take out an even closer look around our floating home, then be sure to click on this next video here.